Hi, everyone. My name is Evelyn Prim. I'm the communication coordinator for the city of Montpelier, and I'm here today with Montpelier Police Department Chief Eric Nordenson. And Eric is going to run through the FY25 proposed budget for the police and dispatch department. So we'll share our screen so you can see the presentation, and we'll get right to it. All right, take it away, Eric.
Great, thanks, Evelyn. Today I'm going to be presenting the 2025 budget for the Montpelier Police Department, our Capital Dispatch Center, which is a regional dispatch center for multiple communities in Washington County, our Community Service Division, which includes parking, and it's our proposed budget, which is effective so far through December of 2023. Kind of what we're going to do here is go through a little introduction of our team, our command structure. I think it's important to discuss our core services that we plan to push forward in FY25. You know, this has been a tough budget year, so we do have some constraints to some of the services we like to deliver. We'll go over an overview of the actual budget and what that budget means. There's some multiple challenges and different opportunities based on that budget. So we're going to go over those and then talk about our strategic plan, which is more kind of a work plan for the upcoming year based on the budget numbers that we have and the people that we have. And then we'll wrap up with basically what's next for the budget process leading up to the March vote. For the police department, as Evelyn said, my name's Eric Nordenson. I'm the police chief. We are authorized for 16 police officers. First part here is our dispatch center. Like we said, we dispatch for multiple communities in Washington County. The dispatch center organizational chart, it's ultimately led by me, the police chief, and then is supervised by the deputy police chief. The dispatch unit itself is led by Carrie McCool, who is our dispatch supervisor, and she is joined by 7 other full-time dispatchers who cover Montpelier and the area county 24/7. For the police department, we have 16 authorized police officers, and we currently are fully staffed, which is a big change from the very beginning of January when we were down to 11 officers. That has allowed us to basically fill all our ranks. So we have a chief, which is me, Deputy Chief Kevin Moulton, and then we have multiple sergeants, corporals who are leaders for not just today, but for the future, and then multiple regular officers. We also have in those officers a detective who is Alicia Donovan and a detective sergeant who is Jeff Pearson. On the parking side, that is also led by myself and Deputy Chief Kevin Moulton. We have one full-time community service officer, Michelle Amaral, and she's has some support from Sheila James, and then John Taylor is our technical specialist. He's the one you'll see fixing meters or cleaning up things that are broken downtown. For our core services, we try to maintain a number of core services given the budget limitations. We will provide 24-hour professional dispatch service to our community. They'll all be professionally trained to handle fire, police, and EMS emergencies. So when you call 911, the phone call would be answered, shipped down to Montpelier PD, and we would send the appropriate resources to you. So we plan to keep that as a core service. We plan to provide professional police services that match the needs of our community. We pride ourselves on being highly trained, and we're prepared to handle a variety of issues. Given the size and the demands of a capital city, we have to rely heavily on regional partners. So we plan to work with those partners to determine the best response to those in crisis. We also plan to be emergency ready. That doesn't just mean natural disasters. We have city events that we have to be aware of, and we also have tactical situations that are very challenging, and we want to make sure that we equip and prepare our staff accordingly. Some changes and challenges that we have based on this. We were tasked with saving some money on overtime. So we have some staffing reductions. And what does that mean? It means that we used to have a minimum staffing of 3 officers per shift. That would be 1 supervisor and 2 patrol officers. We have dropped that minimum staffing coverage to 2. So there is some delays on occasion to calls because of the reduction. It saves us a fair amount of overtime. It also allows our staff to have some time off, which they desperately need. We're also switching to single coverage and dispatch at times. We typically had double coverage and dispatch from midnight or from 8 a.m. to midnight. And then from midnight to 8, we would have single coverage. We're looking to expand the single coverage a little bit and testing it out in December to see the impact on not only the staff, but the community. As we've said, we've reduced the minimum staffing. We're beginning to restructure the parking services and work a little bit more with DPW on providing the services that are needed on an administrative level. We have eliminated our K-9 position. That position had not been funded, and we were relying on our budget. And at this point, we can no longer support that based on the overtime requirements, training requirements, travel requirements, and equipment. We were authorized initially for 17 police officers, which we had left that position vacant, and that position now has been eliminated. One of our big challenges is the FBI recommends that 2.4 officers per 1,000 residents, which would put us at about 19 to 20 officers in Montpelier. For comparison, Berry City has 21 officers on their record, and they're a similar size. And we also have the capital city. So the demands on us are very high, and they would be better suited with more officers, but we understand that there's not the money to support that. You take a look at our overall budget for the police side, our expenditures are $2,706,894. That's up a little bit from the prior year. You can see that the percentage increase is pretty minimal. We've done some restructuring of where we expense some of our work. One of the big pieces was we expensed a little bit more in the parking fund, which you will see in a couple slides. And that was because we do a pretty good heavy lift on the administrative side for parking. As you can see, the expenditures by the type, we are 83.5% personnel. So when we start to talk about where do you save money, the end result is usually it has to come down to people at this point. Our operating costs support everything from training to keeping the lights on in the building to fueling the cars, repairing the cars, our wellness program, and everything in between. So there's not a lot of extra money in there. So when it comes down to look at cuts, it's now at people. Our dispatch budget, as you can see, is a little over $1 million. You'll see that it's about a 12% increase from the prior year. What we've noticed is that we under budgeted overtime, and this budget reflects the actual costs for overtime in the past. So we feel like this gives us a better idea of where we're going to be and a more real budget. As you can see, dispatch is a very similar expense type as police, except their personnel costs are 92% and some change. There is not a lot of place to save money in dispatch. It's down to people. Our parking budget, 781,000 and some change. And as you can see, it's up about 100,000 in expenses. And again, that was due to a reallocation of some police expenses in the parking fund to basically justify the administrative lift that we've been doing on the parking side. And expenditures by function, you can see that our parking and community service operation is basically 92% personnel. So if we want to save some money there, it's in the personnel department. Some key challenges that we have, not just on the local level, but on the state, is in-state training is a very limited amount. So we are finding that we have to send our officers out to out-of-state trainings. We also have increased our in-house instructors so we can do a lot more in-house training and meet the minimum requirements that Vermont requires. But I think doing the minimum never gets you ahead. So we spend a fair amount of time traveling out of state to get the training that we think we need to be best prepared. Staff reductions on shift that has a potential slower response time, which we talked about. The opportunities in there, it allows the staff to have some time off without being ordered in. When we were at 3 people per shift, it was basically required for someone to get called in for anybody's vacation or sick time. And it became really daunting for the officers. It was really hard to have your days off. So the shift reduction, while a slower response time, has allowed for a better quality of life for the officers and the dispatchers. The last challenge we had was the capital improvement plan. We funded at 0 for 2025. What that really means is that we will not be getting a new cruiser for next year. We had put in for the first police rated fully electric vehicle. It was a first year 2024 Chevrolet. I've always been of the thought process that you don't want to buy the first year of a cruiser or any vehicle for that matter. So it's going to give us an opportunity to evaluate whether that cruiser is actually something that we could use going forward or not. And we'll let somebody else test that out before we spend the money on that. Some strategic goals that we have. It's no secret we had a major flood, and we want to make sure that we're emergency ready. So we work with the state of Vermont, Berry City, Capitol Police, Capitol Fire, and we're working really hard on radio infrastructure and continuity of operation plans. What does that mean to the person in our community? It means that if something happens in Montpelier and the radios don't work, you don't notice a thing. It switches over to another organization that picks up the slack right from us, or vice versa, and there's no loss of service. A great example of that would have been the flood this year when Berry City lost their building and they shifted their calls to the Montpelier Police Department, and there was no loss of service. And if we didn't tell people that it happened, probably didn't notice it. We also looking to establish an offsite incident command center with full dispatch capabilities. In the middle of the flood, we had to pack up dispatch equipment and move to another location. We're looking to have one fully set up. So in the event of an emergency, we just take our people, or they can report directly to there, and it's ready to go. We're also ramping up our incident command training for all staff through FEMA, makes these recovery processes and the processes during any crisis situation a little bit smoother, understanding how everything works. And we're hoping to complete all those trainings and continuity of operation plans within the next 2 years. Another goal is we have public health and safety for all, including the unhoused, which is a strategic goal of the City Council. And part of that is investing heavily in staff training. We have increased our budget for training and for travel, which I'm very appreciative of. We will continue the crisis intervention training. We have a 3-year grant, and we're currently starting our 2nd year in that grant for $150,000, which funds our community and the neighboring communities training in CIT. We're also looking to expand our crisis negotiation training through the FBI, continue crowd management training through FEMA, and have all our leaders and future leaders go to FBI leadership training for command staff. We think building a solid foundation of future leaders is a priority for us and for the community. Another thing, I think a day doesn't go by where we don't get calls for speed enforcement or red light enforcement or traffic related offenses. So we're hoping to increase our proactive patrols in high traffic areas with the goal of crash reduction and community safety. That mirrors pretty much what we see every day on emails or on Front Porch Forum. We have ramped up our speed enforcement with high visibility, red light and traffic stop or stop sign enforcement. We have DUI and drug driving enforcement. We have a drug recognition expert on staff to really enforce those violations. We feel that the presence and the increase of presence of directed patrols will help reduce property crimes. We've started a social media campaign to lock your doors. And we also hope to reduce assaults downtown, which we've seen a little downtick in those based on our foot patrols. Next strategic goal is implementing police review committee standards as approved by the City Council. That was a little challenging because we've basically followed many of the leads that they've requested. So we felt like we could do a little better job with data transparency. So we've chosen to focus on that for the PRC committees for the next year. You'll see that our data is very present on our city website. It's also present on our social media pages and on the city manager's weekly report now. If you are looking for monthly data, there's raw data and traffic stop data and arrest data all on our pages, and every incident that we respond to is also available on our website. We have started a detailed quarterly report, which is also located on the webpage, and we are looking to increase our social media footprint through X, Instagram, potentially TikTok, since we're basically currently right now on Facebook. So what's next? Obviously, we have a vote in March, but if you have any specific questions for me, my contact information is below. I'm happy to receive any email, a phone call, meet for coffee. Pretty easy to find me downtown. I'm happy to talk to anybody about any of our challenges or any of the things that we're doing good. By all means, give me a call. My phone number is there, and I'll hand it to Evelyn.
Great, thank you so much, Eric. So as Eric mentioned, the City Council makes a decision in January. We also have 2 public hearings coming up on the budget, one on January 10th and the second on January 24th. The information on how to attend those is on our website in the Agenda Center, so definitely check that out. And then the ultimate vote on the budget will be on town meeting day on March 5th. So please check out the other videos in this presentation in the playlist, and thanks again for watching.